nature or man-made, these are some of the biggest explosions caught on camera. Number 8. On August 2, 2020, a massive explosion rocked the port of Beirut, Lebanon's capital, when 2,000 tons of ammonium nitrate detonated. Researchers estimate that the blast's force, equivalent to between 550 and 1,200 tons of TNT, ranks among the largest accidental, non-nuclear explosions in history. The explosion shattered windows throughout the city, devastated 3 neighborhoods, killed over 200 people, and injured thousands more. For 6 years, thousands of tons of ammonium nitrate had been stored at Beirut's port. Ammonium nitrate, commonly used in fertilizers and mining explosives, is typically safe when stored properly. However, it becomes highly explosive if mixed with fuel or subjected to extreme heat. Number 7. On August 12, 2015, 2 powerful explosions struck the port of Tianjin in northern China, killing more than 100 people and injuring hundreds more. The blasts originated in a warehouse storing flammable and hazardous chemicals, including ammonium nitrate, sodium cyanide, potassium nitrate, sodium nitrate, and calcium carbide. Following the incident, an official from Tianjin Dongjiang Port Rubihai International Logistics was arrested. Investigators suggested that water sprayed on the chemicals to combat an initial fire may have triggered the explosions. For instance, calcium carbide reacts with water to produce highly explosive acetylene gas. According to the China Earthquake Network Center, the first explosion had a force equivalent to 3 tons of TNT, while the second, far more powerful blast registered at 21 tons of TNT. The second explosion was so massive that it was detected by satellites orbiting Earth. Number 6. September 2017. A massive explosion at the Kalinivka ammunition depot in Ukraine. One of the country's largest military arsenals forced the evacuation of over 30,000 people. The blasts, equivalent to multi-kiloton detonations, destroyed about 63,000 tons of usable ammunition, mostly tank rounds, and were later confirmed as sabotage in 2021. No fatalities were reported, though property damage was extensive. Number 5. On April 17, 2013, a fire at the West Fertilizer Company in West Texas quickly escalated into a catastrophic ammonium nitrate explosion. Just 20 minutes after the blaze was reported, the tight-knit town reeled from the tragedy, grappling with both heartbreak and widespread destruction. The blast claimed 15 lives, including 12 first responders, left over 160 people injured, and leveled more than 500 buildings. Coming so soon after the Boston Marathon bombing, the disaster initially sparked fears of a terrorist attack. The people of West were overwhelmed, but not alone. Neighbors and strangers rallied to help. Locals pitched in with food, supplies, and blood donations for the survivors, and more than $300,000 was raised for relief efforts. The explosion drew national attention, and the president attended a memorial service to pay respects to the victims. Number 4. On April 26, 1986, a catastrophic explosion occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, once a part of the Soviet Union. The explosion was so powerful that it blew off a 2,000-ton nuclear reactor, causing more than 400 times the amount of radioactive fallout than the Hiroshima bomb. As a result, over 77,000 square miles of Europe were contaminated. Approximately 600,000 people were exposed to high doses of radiation, and more than 350,000 people were evacuated from the affected areas. The incident claimed the lives of 30 operators and firefighters over a period of 3 months, with additional deaths occurring later. Among the 250 people diagnosed with acute radiation syndrome, some died within a few weeks. This event is the only known accident in the history of commercial nuclear power to result in radiation-related fatalities. The disaster was so significant that it contributed to the fall of the Soviet Union. Science now estimates that the area around the plant will remain uninhabitable for up to 20,000 years. Number 3. The Trinity nuclear test was conducted on July 16, 1945. It was the first ever detonation of a nuclear weapon, carried out by the United States Army as part of the Manhattan Project, a research and development undertaking during World War II to produce nuclear weapons. The test took place in the Jornada del Muerto Desert, or Dead Man's Route, about 35 miles, 56 kilometers, southeast of Socorro, New Mexico. It was conducted as a final check of the bomb's design and to assess its potential destructive power. Gadget, the nuclear device was placed on top of a 30-meter tower, surrounded by various measuring instruments and cameras to record the event. The scientists and engineers involved in the project observed the test from a safe distance, around 16 kilometers away. At the moment of detonation, a flash of light blinded all the observation equipment, followed by a shockwave that could be felt more than 160 kilometers away. The explosion released the unrelenting power of 25 kilotons of TNT, or about 100 terajoules. That's 1.5 times stronger than the Hiroshima bomb. The Trinity test produced a mushroom cloud that was visible for hundreds of kilometers in all directions, and rose to about 12 kilometers, taller than Mount Everest, and the same altitude where many commercial airlines cruise. The heat generated by the explosion was intense enough to cause sand and rocks to melt into a glass-like substance known as trinitite, which is still found today, along with a memorial at the exact location of the nuclear test site. Operation Crossroads, a program for testing Navy vessels against nuclear attacks, took place on July 25, 1946. The U.S. military attempted detonating a nuke 90 feet below the lagoon of the Bikini Atoll area. It was the first ever underwater nuclear test. The 3-kiloton explosion generated an erupting gas bubble that destroyed everything in its path at the bottom of the lagoon. The explosion carved a 30-foot deep, 2,000-foot wide crater in the surface of the seafloor. Above water, it created an insanely humongous dome of water that reached more than a mile in height. The blast triggered a 94-foot-high tsunami so powerful, it lifted up the USS Arkansas, some 27,000-ton dreadnought battleship. The tsunami sank over 8 ships, coating many of the surrounding ships in radioactivity. While devastating, the U.S. military was amazed with the results and eager for more. Number 1. Mount St Helens, a volcano in the Cascades, has been erupting in various styles for over 4,000 years. However, after 123 years of silence, it erupted on May 18, 1980, not from its peak, but from its side, releasing 8 times more energy than every explosive used in World War II combined. The eruption killed 60 people, including scientists, hikers, and residents in the vicinity of the mountain. Prior to the eruption, the mountain had experienced thousands of vibrational swarms and ashy columns, some as high as 16,000 feet, in the weeks leading up to the disaster.